was raining earlier, wasn't it? And I rang you, I said, oh, should we not do this one? Because obviously, you know, it's a little bit of a leery car, or can be. And then now it's like 30 degrees or something.
I was gonna say.
It's really, really nice.
Sounds nice though. Ooh, lovely. That is lovely. Flutter.
She's noisy.
Brilliant.
I was short shifting really a little bit as well. So basically, this car belongs to Andy Russell, who's a. Let me just put it back in a normal mode so we can actually hear. He originally bought the car and it was standard, if I remember rightly. He rang us up about doing a stage 2 APR on it, I think. And then he was on about a stage 3, and then I'd never met Andy. And he'd rang 2 or 3 times and threatened to just come and see me and just, you know, we'll talk about it, this, that and the other. Anyway, he came down one day and was just like, there's no point really talking about it, I just want to do it. So he said, well, I'm just going to leave you my car. He's just organised himself a lift home. Obviously, you know, we then took the car, took the job on, made it a stage 3 Golf R, which was with stock engine, V5 turbo, water meth, Wagner intercooler, Scorpion exhaust, you know, racing line, oil management system, the catch can, you know, all the bells and whistles on there. But Andy ran, so he'd run. We used his car as a bit of like an example. So we ran 592, I think was the most we ran in the car, but that was race fuel.
Nice.
At the time, the 85 wasn't really on the. It was on the scene, but we didn't have the capabilities of running the extra injectors and enough fuel in to run the 85, because you need 30% more fuel system basically to run the 85.
Sure.
So that means you need 30% more fuel pump spare, you need 30% more injector, things like that. And when you've got nothing, zero, everything's maxed out, you just can't, you know, you can't run that different fuel. So whereas some race fuels you can run and you don't need as much of it because it's much more explosive, so it makes more power naturally. So not all, but some race fuels are like that. It depends which type of race fuels. We won't get into that now, but so then anyway, we made the power, and Andy was, you know, loved the car, etc. And then he like made this joke about, I want to put a Daza engine in, and I was like, well, yeah, if you want to do it, we'll do it. You know, he'd seen David Lee's car and whatever, and he said, you know, I'd really fancy doing that, going big power or something. And I was like, okay. So anyway, next thing, he turned up with in his van with an engine and gearbox, and I was like, okay, you want to do this then? He's like, yep. And then dropped the car off the next day. So unfortunately, he'd not got every part he needed when he dropped the car off, so we had to get a few parts, but that was okay. He then went and got a rear diff and stuff like that. He went and found all the bits. Yeah. We struggled with a fuel tank for a bit, but then we found one of those cheap, like that turned up. So in the end, we got all the bits we needed. So that was good. And then he turned up one day. He's like, you know, I've got a TT 700 from Simon Sharp at Turbo Engineers. Yeah, good turbo sound. Get that dropped off. So he dropped that off. Then we put an APR RS3 intercooler on. We made that fit on the front.
Right.
So that's quite a good, it's a very good intercooler. But that goes, so instead of the normal 2-litre rad pack that has aircon rad, intercooler, and then radiator, and then fans, this has got intercooler, aircon rad, radiator, and fans. So the intercooler's out the front, so it gets the most air. So it works really well. We still had the water meth, because obviously it was fitted to the 2-litre. Yep. So we got an SRM billet elbow and attached the boost takeoff to that and the water meth to that. So it's post throttle. So we then put a one-way valve in as well, which stops it sucking because obviously when you let off it causes a vacuum. It then suck all the meth out of the pipe and gob that down the engine, which is not good. So we put a one-way valve in as close as you can to that, and that stops that happening. The water meth obviously is good for cooling, which this doesn't really have a big problem with cooling, but it's good for cooling and just safety as well. Bit of meth in there. It's not really tuned massively for it. You can tune these cars for it, but Andy just wanted it to be safe and last. Yeah. And the Daza engine's renowned for making power, but it's also renowned for bending rods or throwing rods out or cracking, or breaking. So if you basically don't treat them properly or have all the safeguards on there. So this has got the bigger port injectors on it as well. So it's got the 980cc port injectors, and it's got a stock pump in the tank, but it's a brand new one. So it's just probably just enough to run E85 to do probably 700, maybe a bit more, depending on.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll probably. I think Dave Henderson's Audi A3 did 730 on a very similar setup back in the day.
Right.
So it should do 700 quite easily, I would have thought. It's MRC tuned.
Okay then. Yeah.
So we made sure that we did that back in the time. So we have to do the MRC, because when you do these cars, you have to deimmobilise the engine ECU. So to be able to run the engine ECU in the car. So then when we do that, we run the MRC software. So, and then obviously the gearbox is MRC software as well. You can't flash over that then. So you still can't steal the car, but it enables the engine to start. So you still have to have the key, but it'll still enable it to start. So,
right.
And then we've got, obviously then he's had Meta track fitted, all sorts of trackers. He can turn the car off his phone and all sorts of stuff. So you know what these cars are like.
Yeah.
People want to take them and stuff.
Yeah,
but
very true.
if they steal the car and they just turn, they go 500 yards down the road, they just turn it off. And then what? Then that's worse for them, because they're going to get, nicked, aren't they? So by the old bill. So got a boost gauge in there, just there.
Yeah, I like that addition.
It's got the latest 7.5 dash clocks, Pro Nav, and then I believe that's a Tiguan or something. Heated display, yeah. So
I was thinking the same, because I didn't think these looked like they do in the 7.5, because I was contemplating whether it was from the 7.5 originally.
Well, I should know really, but I didn't fit that, so I was fitted elsewhere.
We'll forgive you.
So, I don't know all heater controls and fit in a Golf. Sorry. He's got RS3 front brakes, and we painted them black and put the R logo on, so they kind of looked factory.
Yeah.
It's got the rear Vagbrem Technic 352mm upgrade brackets and discs on the back. It's got Bilstein coilovers on it. Came with the Pretz. It's got the Pretoria wheels on, painted black. It's got a TRC front splitter. It had a what's it called? Maxton. Well, I said about 55 Maxton, but they all just fall off the brake, don't they? So it's got a TRC ones that fiberglass rather than made out of plastic. So Scorpion exhaust. And that's pretty much it really. So it was a fair old build. It took a fair old time to do it. We had a little break in between, in the middle of the build, where Andy was getting married. He had to bring his marriage forward a year. So they got married, and once that was done, then we carried on with the build, So.
And these seats, like wingback.
Sorry, it's got the wingback seats have been redone. I can't remember who did that. It's got the wingbacks in, and it's got a carbon steering wheel. It's got the racing line paddles. It's got carbon bonnet on there as well. It's got everything. 7.5 front end.
Is it full carbon, the bonnet, just painted over?
Yeah, it's full carbon painted over. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, real nice car. I mean, it cruises. I mean, it's not noisy at all now, is it?
I was going to say it's perfect.
It's got the valves. It's got the valved exhaust still. So and then when you obviously when you put your foot down, then it becomes. I mean, we've actually added the valves to the Scorpion. So it didn't have it on, and then it was just too noisy when he was driving. So we've actually used some Golf R valves, and then cut the Scorpion and put the valves in. So
is that quite a process to do, or pretty?
If you wanted to TIG weld it nice, it'd take a long time, and we've just used a normal MIG welder to do it, but it tidied it up. It looks all right,
Nice.
I mean, we're not exhaust builders. So and then ultimately, apart from that, it's just a normal Mark 7 Golf. Just drives lovely. So obviously, I don't think Andy's actually been to Santa Podity yet. But obviously, because of COVID, there's not been many events, and then obviously, I think, not sure what events are to come. There'll be the Spring Festival, I think, not Spring Festival, GTI Festival. Definitely go to the GTI Festival, and hopefully Andy will come along, and we'll take the Leon Harveys as well. Took a few cars up there, but we'll see what it does down a quarter mile, So it's got to do some sort of 9-second quarter mile, hasn't it?
If feels quick from the first.
Yeah, I mean, probably not
did.
with this fuel, but with the 85 in it, it should do it. So
how do you think it drives with the RS3 engine? Is it still very similar to? I mean, essentially, it's still, it is a Golf aside from the engine really and the other bits that I've had done. But do you feel like it changes the drive drastically in terms of how it feels?
When we're driving normally like that, probably not. When you're driving quickly or you're accelerating hard, then yes, I believe that this drives quite a lot different to a Golf.
Right.
The sense of speed that you get, you don't realise how quickly you've gained distance is the problem. So you've got to be, you have to be really careful when you're driving it that you don't do anything silly, and obviously, because obviously you've still got brakes, but because you're in a Golf, you don't realise. When you're in an RS3, you know you're in an RS3, don't you?
Yeah, that's
so
true.
No, I think it just sounds like a 5-cylinder Golf.
Not a bad thing.
We're currently doing another vehicle at the moment. I've actually got two.
The grey one, isn't it?
Yeah, the grey one of Nick's. That's having a big power, and I've got another car I'm doing as well. So the guys asked me not to really say anything about that. So but there's another car we're doing, which will be it's a Golf as well, and that will be simply, that'll be sort of 800 odd horsepower as well. So that'll be pretty cool.
Forged internals and
oh yes, it wants everything doing. So yeah.
If you don't mind speaking about it, sort of what would be the cost for something like this?
The cost involved depends. So the cost is going to range for doing this job anywhere from 30 to 60,000 quid. Reason being, how much you pay for the bits. If you drop on a whole engine conversion and everything for 5 grand, you could do it for 20 grand easily, or less, but it's just never going to happen. So in the real world, I bought everything from Startler in Sheffield, and it was 15 grand plus VAT to do another vehicle. But then a few bits were broke, nothing serious, which I knew when I was going there, so I was aware of that. And I probably spent a few bob just buying a few extra bits, a couple of extra grand. But so you think it's 20 grand just for the bits.
Yeah.
So people who are in the dream world who think they could do it for 10 grand, unless, ultimately there's people out there who'll go and buy stolen parts and they'll do it for next to nothing. That's not what we do. That's not my forte. I'm there to buy things properly, fit them in the car, and not get involved in shit like that. So, but at the end of the day, to do a car, so you straight away you're into 20 grand, and then you've got to fit it all. The wiring loom in the engine bay. You then need a loom. You need to mix the loom from the Dazza engine, the bay loom, with the Golf. So that's got to be made. And then obviously you then have to buy an intercooler and make sure that's, if you can use the RS3 one, but if you want to upgrade then you've got a turbo. If you want to buy a TTE 700, I think they're 3.5 grand. So add that on the price. And an intercooler, that's another 1,500 quid, plus possibly a couple of grand with the pipe work and an intake. If you want a carbon intake, some of those are £1,500. Then you need an exhaust, some of those are 2.5 grand. Then you need an elbow, £800, in-tank pump, injectors, £500, in-tank pump, another, could be 1,500 quid for the pumps. It soon starts adding up. And then you've got software and DMO in the ECU and map switching, probably another £1,800 for including the box. It can get really, really expensive, really quick.
I'm guessing all that, it takes a lot of time as well, so that's, there's a labour.
Yeah, then you've got labour as well,
Yeah. So it makes perfect sense. It's not an easy job.
No, it's not. So, and then you've got, obviously, if you buy the full conversion kit and you get the brakes with it, great. If you don't, then you need to buy front brakes minimum, because you can't drive. Audi put these brakes on the standard, so you need the minimum what Audi fit. Otherwise, it's just not going to stop the car because of the extra weight and everything else,
Yeah.
So
this was the first one that you've done. Do you reckon you sort of more? You'll be able to cut down the time, I guess I'm trying to say, when you next come to do it. Has it been a bit of a process of trial and error?
Yeah.
With this,
the next one, do a lot quicker.
Yeah.
A lot quicker.
Nice.
Cut out some of the faff, some of the unknown and not knowns, and because obviously Andy's done a few miles in this now, so everything we've done we know works. So it's kind of like, well, because he's done some miles in it, I know that we're not going to have to faff about, like, I know the intercooler works, it's not fell off, the brackets were made for that, they're good. I know the exhaust system works. I know that, you know, the fuel system and the fuel pipes and everything we've done like that works. So it's kind of like, well, and the radiator works and everything how it's mounted. So it's just kind of a repeat process.
Sure.
Providing the customer wants to do a similar thing, you know.
Maybe one day if I win the lottery, I'll contemplate that.
Well, this is it, you know. Unless someone in a salvage yard wants to give you the stuff.
Yeah.
You know? So obviously we're on a back road now, so similar to when we drove the Club Sport.
Good road.
I'm sure how.
Love that sound.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
Yeah.
We'll put it in the correct mode for the job.
It is so weird hearing that come from a Golf.
It's strange,
Yeah,
isn't it?
strange. Lies. I looked at the speedo then and nearly had to re-question what I just saw.
At least 60 there.
Yeah. Got to the speed limit pretty quick. That was it.
It sounded worse than it was, I think. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
You see that, but then it just drives quiet again. But there's a lot of traction there, so that's what I mean. You've got to judge your distances and things like that, and just make sure there's nobody else about as well when you're driving the car. It's quite a experience.
Gotta say, you contain the beast, that's for sure. You drive it like a boss.
Because when you do this job, it's kind of like you. Let me just turn the. When you do this for a living, you kind of get used to it. You know, because a lot of people will drive a car and they'll just keep their foot in and then they wouldn't crashing because, you know, they keep it in for too long. You know, or they don't know. Like the brakes on this car, this has got. It probably wants some better pads in it, really.
Okay.
And ultimately, I think, but that's just next on the agenda. You know, if Candy keeps, if you want to drive it really hard down a back road, you know, something like this needs race pads, 100% in the car. You know, problem is once you start going that way, like race pads and stuff like that, because they're not supposedly they're not road legal, so you're kind of taking the legalities out of the car. I mean, obviously there's various other things on this type of car. I mean, to do an engine conversion, that's not illegal to do an engine conversion, but to pass an MOT, some cars don't have cats on and things. So then there's lots of them. There's probably lots of cars out there that are not legal, but
yeah,
as long as you've not got some sad little git grassing you up to the police or something like that, then do you know what I mean? It's like, you know,
yeah. Yeah, to think people would do that.
well, some people have just got nothing in their life, haven't they? So
That's true.
they find it, you know, they find it necessary to go and do something like that. But at the end of the day, that's each to their own. So yeah, so what do you think anyway? I mean,
it feels amazing. It does take your breath away. I feel like the torque really pushes you back into the seats.
It does, and it just sort of doesn't let off either, does it? And
No,
it kind of gets
carries
more.
on. That's what I feel.
More towards the end,
I feel like there's way more to give. Yeah, exactly. And again, it's just so strange hearing this sort of sound come from a Golf R, but it makes it really special, and I think that appeals to me because it's so unique and it's such a unique build, and I just like anything that's different, and this certainly is different. I mean, you see a lot of Golf Rs around, but you're not going to see a lot, if any, Golf Rs around with you know, an RS3 engine in. So
no, I mean, to put a number on it, you've got David Lee's car, which was done years ago, and that's 1,000 horsepower, and goes to Santa Pod and does. I think he's done a 8 point something second quarter mile. I can't remember what he's done, but he's done a fast time. Then you've got Doug from MRC.
right.
Well, it's actually Louise, his wife's, his missus's car. The blue Golf R. That's fully built engine. Tim Radley from Race Developments built that engine. It's got a big turbo on a precision turbo, I believe. Then you've got lad from Sheffield, I've forgotten his name, Black Golf R.
Right. I think I might know who you mean. I think he's been on it.
Tom.
Yeah,
Tom Parker.
Yes. Yeah.
He's got. I believe that's fully built. I think he's got a TTE 777 on it.
Okay.
Probably don't, and he's got a billet inlet on it. Oh, he's got the RPC inlet on it and stuff. That's a much higher spec than this car, parts wise, and you know, it's a lovely build. He's done a lovely job on it from what I can see. I mean, you know, he does a good job on. I think he owns a garage as well, him and his dad, so they seem to do a good job. And then there's the only other car I know of. I don't know if it's got a Dazzler in it, or there's that Caddy that's just been done, something to do with Storm, and that's got either a Dazzler engine in it or something else. That's not a Golf though, is it?
Yeah,
so.
I guess. Love it. Just gives it so much character. And it is very, very smooth power delivery. Again, it does, like we were just saying, just feels like it just keeps wanting to go and go and go.
Does it rips?
Like, flipping heck. Love it. So sorry, what exactly is this running BHP and torque wise?
So 640 was the most we made, I think.
Yeah. That is brilliant. That is so much fun.
Down the other side of the road, isn't it?
Yeah. Poor guy. So you're saying 640 is the max it's made?
Yeah, made between 630 and 640 on, I think we did about 8 or 9 dyno pulls.
Nice. Torque?
I'd have to have a look. I genuinely can't remember.
Put it this way, you can certainly feel the torque.
Oh yeah. So it was 550, 600 pounds fee, whatever it was, yeah.
Nice.
But I don't know an exact figure. They make them in between there, so.
Nice. Wow. That's a world of difference when you open the window.
Yeah.
That is sounds beautiful.
We ought to do a launch in it, really, haven't we?
Oh yeah, we did it.
Right, we should be able to do it down here, so.
Perfect. I'm excited for this. I haven't launched mine yet, so I haven't felt a launch in a while because I'm too cautious of my clutch and gearbox.
Fair enough. Well, let's see if it even goes into launch mode. Yeah, it does, yeah. That's about that. Wow. I thought my face was going to pull off.
I thought my face.
My face is coming off.
Flipping heck.
That's a fast car.
Oh yeah, I would have loved to have known the 0 to 60 on that. Bloody hell. That
would have been pretty quick, wouldn't it?
Flipping heck. Bloody hell. What a machine.
Makes you feel like tunnel vision a bit sick, doesn't it?
Yeah. Exactly that. Oh, brilliant.